Greetings! Welcome to another episode of Porygondolier. Would you care for a nice cup of Earl Grey? Today, to celebrate the release of the Indigo Disc DLC for Scarlet and Violet, I'm doing a solo run of Pokémon Red, using only Raging Bolt, the Paradox Pokémon distantly related to Raikou from Gold and Silver. And this is my opening sequence. Raging Bolt is a bright yellow Brachiosaurus, with a cloud for a beard and really great, hair? It's also very difficult to draw within a 56 pixel square. I do apologise, I'm embarrassed to admit, this took me 6 hours. I'll name myself Littlefoot. Drop me a comment if you know the reference. Unlike Raikou, Raging Bolt gets its very own signature move called Thunderclap, but I'll get back to that later, as my Gen 1 version starts with Dragon Rage and Thunder Wave. Dragon Rage does a fixed 40 HP of damage, which means it's ridiculously good in the early game. Bye bye Bulbasaur. Much like my Lugia run, the moveset is intended to be as close as possible to what it might have been if Raging Bolt was actually in Gen 1. Unlike Lugia, Raging Bolt was introduced, well, last week, and its moveset is rather modern. I've tried to reinterpret its Gen 9 moveset with cues from Raikou in Gen 2 to allow me to come up with a Gen 1 Raging Bolt. Dragon Rage is a replacement for Twister, and Thunder Wave takes the place of Gen 2 Raikou's Leer. Now, as per Raikou, it'll gain a move every 10 levels, starting at 11 with Thundershock. This is replacing Shockwave and also happens to match Raikou. At level 21, it's Stomp, and at 31, it gets its signature move, Thunderclap. I analysed all the signature moves in Gen 1 and decided this was a fairly appropriate place to put it. At 41 it's Thunderbolt, and at 51 it gets Growth, replacing Calm Mind. At 61 it gets Body Slam, replacing Body Press, and finally, at level 71 it gets Thunder. It's also going to get access to Solar Beam, Earthquake, and a few others via TM. Its special stat is 137 from its special attack. With a special stat like this, I think we're looking at more or less minimal battles, so I ignore Optional John and unleash Shenron on this Weedle. I challenge Brock with my level 6 dinosaur with only 11 minutes on the clock. As expected, Dragon Rage obliterates Rocky 1 and the sequel with ease. Now on Route 3 I get into a battle with only 3 Dragon Rages left, and this trainer has 4 Pokemon for me to beat. I'm sure I'm going to get stuck using Thunder Wave on repeat, and then, just in the nick of time, level 11, Raging Bolt learned Thundershock. Actual perfection. Let's pretend that was part of the plan. Later, Thunder Wave comes in handy for catching HM Paris, and I soon arrive at Cerulean City. I'm going to fight Misty first. Staryu shouldn't be any trouble, but it does survive one Thundershock, so I decide to switch to Dragon Rage for Starmie. Starmie's tackle falls flat, and that's badge number 2. Straight to John II without even a stop at the Pokemon Center, and Pidgeotto sneaks in a cheeky quick attack. And we have type advantage, but Thundershock is just a bit rubbish. And yeah, I probably should have healed up. 1 Dragon Rage is enough for Abra. Same for Rattata. Bulbasaur hangs on and growls at me. Oh no! This Onix would be a pain for any other electric type, but Raging Bolt is a dragon, which is apparently a fancy word for dinosaur. After visiting Bill, I catch a Pidgey and RB learns Stomp. Aboard the SS Anne, I grab the TM for Body Slam and then decide not to use it. It's a stronger move than Stomp, but I have a feeling that Stomp's flinch-inducing may come in handy. Sailor John's Pidgeotto goes down in 1 this time, and I give Stomp a whirl against Kadabra. It's not bad, but we don't have particularly great attack stats. We can see here the damage is pretty poor against Ivysaur, but I need to conserve Dragon Rage for the gym. Bye bye boat, I hope you have a nice voyage. I get some excellent luck on the gym puzzle, and Surge speeds up his Snooker Ball while I go for a Dragon Rage. It then goes for Sonic Boom, which I was afraid of, but thankfully it's just 1, as we stomp it flat. Pikachu happens, and then Raichu dishes out a massive 2 HP of damage with a Thundershock. It then growls at me. Why does everyone keep growling at me? Surge hands over the TM for Thunderbolts, which Raging Bolt learns naturally, but why wait? In the Hole Digging fan club, I remember to get the voucher before digging, which leaves me feeling very proud of myself indeed. And after digging to Cerulean, I even remember to get the bicycle. I'm on a roll! And man am I glad I picked up the antidote in Viridian Forest. That's gonna save me going back. I hope you don't mind, but I've illuminated Rock Tunnel, 'cause I'm afraid of the dark. Time to fight the hiker. Hopefully Dragon Rage will allow us to overcome his exploding rocks. And I don't think I saved. Bit risky. He didn't even self-destruct. I'll take this Max Ether, might be handy. And look how good Thunderbolt is against this Vulpix. Angry Screw's special stat is just that good. Having arrived in Celadon, I get the drink and HMO2, and now I need to decide between the gym and Giovanni. Either way, the type matchup is bad, but I decide to go to the Rocket Hideout. Again, I need to conserve Dragon Rage, as that's pretty much all I have for the boss, but Stomp is very meh against this Sandslash. Just hoping these don't use any ground type moves. Ha! Kangaskhan went for Rage. Okay, against my best judgment, I'm going to go and try Erika. Execute. Stomp. Not great. Okay, Dragon Rage. One more Stomp. Erika! Probably just Dragon Rage all the way here. Oh dear, that's not good. Poisoned? This could be a tough fight. There's Wrap, I knew that was coming. The Wrap and Poison combo, what a nightmare. There comes the other wrapping technique. I wonder what the difference is between Wrap and Bind. Right, Vileplume, I go for a tactical Thunder Wave. Oh no. No! Okay, Erika later. Lavender Town, and it's time for John number 4. Stomp for Kadabra. Ooh, got it in one. What? You stinker! Stop smelling me later then. At level 31, we finally get Thunderclap, and this feels like a good time to get rid of Thunder Wave. I do want to hang on to Dragon Rage for just a little bit longer. Thunderclap is basically an electric type Sucker Punch, or to put it another way, it's an electric quick attack that only works if the opponent is currently preparing a damaging move. It's a weirdly complicated mechanic that took me hours to program into the game, so I'm really hoping it comes in handy today. It has a fairly average power of 70 and an abysmal 5 PP. But in theory, it can make up for Raging Bolt's not so great speed stat. But in a battle where I'm going to outspeed anyway, I might as well use Thunderbolt. Okay, I'm not particularly keen on Erika yet, so Snorlax time. Dragon Rage? Oh, that's not very good. Stomp? But if we can get it to flinch instead of using Rest? There's the flinch! Ooh, Tauros, when does that ever happen? Wait, did I go the wrong way? I'm gonna run out of steps! Ding dong! I'd better reset. Okay, that's better. I've beat the jugglers and Cloudneck is poisoned. Hopefully not a problem. Aren't you going to explode, Mr. Weezing? There it is, can we survive it? Oh! Wait, no, that doesn't count. Need to reset. Thunderclap. Sludge. Wow, that was really bad. It's not even the poison that's the problem. Sludge is incredible. And then I lose again. Let's go get Earthquake. Time to say goodbye to Dragon Rage. Alright, Johnny 5. Straight for Thunderbolt on Pidgeot. Thunderclap would have been a better choice for Gyarados, since it outspeeds me. Double Earthquakes for Alakazam. Venusaur. Thunderclap misses because it wasn't preparing a damaging move. Wait, why did Thunderclap go second? Okay, I'm back after fixing the ROM. Turns out it wasn't working properly as a priority move. Let's test it out on this Gyarados, since we know that it can outspeed us. There we go, that's better. Okay, this feels like a good time to use Thunderclap. It's do or die. Yes, outsped with Thunderclap. It's useful, it's definitely useful. Get the Lapras, and let's go see the nurse. But I need to fight this guy. Let's see if I can beat him with 6 HP. Nope, I can do this, let's just do it again. Okay, let's use potions. Why didn't I buy some proper potions? Asleep? Thunderbolts? Okay, I'm through. After fighting the rocket near Giovanni, Raging Bolt was a little worse for wear, and had only 3 Earthquakes left. 1 left. Nidoqueen. Why did I use Thunderclap? It's immune. Earthquake? That's not going to cut it either. Oh no. Tail Whip? But I've got no Earthquakes left. Stomp? Oh. Guard Spec? Oh, you can't make this stuff up. That was amazing. It's now time for today's useless facts. Brachiosaurus was a herbivore that ate over 400 pounds of food a day. If you run an all-you-can-eat salad buffet, maybe don't let this guy in. They could weigh as much as 55 tons and be as tall as 13 meters, so Raging Bolt is actually quite short. They could live to be around 100 years old, so as long as you own a vast lettuce farm, they'd probably make quite good pets. Now Sabrina is giving me a tough time. Leech life? Okay then, Erika. For some reason, I went for Thunderclap, which misses as Victory Bell prepares a poison powder. I then land a Thunderclap and the damage was, as you might expect, pretty terrible. Earthquake is fairly decent, well, better than Dragon Rage anyway. The battle is slow going, but I don't see myself losing this time. Just as I prepare to finish off Vileplume, Erika pulls out a super potion. Petal Dance? Okay, that's badge number 4. Based on how badly Sabrina went, I want to try Koga again. RB outspeeds the Coughings and drops each of them in one with Thunderbolt. Earthquake is super effective on Muck, but somehow it doesn't feel super effective. Will 2 Thunderbolts be enough for Wheezing? There's the Sludge, but it's okay this time. And Koga is defeated. I get Toxic, which might come in handy. It can't learn it in Scarlet and Violet, but in Gen 1, all Pokemon that learn TMs can learn Toxic, so it can! I can now surf to Blaine. I pick up Blizzard without thinking, but unfortunately, no ice moves for Raging Bolt. However, I also find TM22, Solar Beam, which I'll save for later. Ha! I am Blaine! You're kinda rude, Blaine. Has anyone ever told you that? You're pretty cool though. Blaine sends out his Growlithe with full HP, but just to be sure, he goes for a Super Potion, forcing my attempt to make use of Thunderclap. The next one lands, but it falls a little short. Earthquake on Rapidash, and it also falls short. Stop growling at me! Thunderbolt on Arcanine. Critical hit. Paralyzed. Can't do much better than that. Take down. Will it take itself down? Not quite. Use Stomp! That's badge number 6. Which means I have to fight Sabrina. This time I'm spamming Thunderbolt, and it's actually pretty good. Not quite good enough, but we're outspeeding, so no reason to use Thunderclap. Close. One more? Well, at least we're past Kadabra without taking any damage. Mr. Mime, stick with Thunderbolt. Oh yes, oh yes. Venomoth, also Thunderbolt. Now I'm thinking Alakazam will be faster than Raging Bolt. Yes, it's gone for its weird Psywave attack. Wow, nice, critical hit. Now I can finish it off with Thunderclap, just in case. That wasn't too bad. Okay, it's time to pull out Solar Beam and say goodbye to Stomp. Earthquake on Rhyhorn. Solar Beam may have been better, as this could take 3 hits. Of course, Earthquake and Solar Beam are both super effective, but the main advantage of Solar Beam is that it will use my special rather than attack. Solar Beam on Dugtrio. Ha! It dug a hole. It pops its heads up, and beam! I switch back to Earthquake for Nidoqueen. This takes 2. Same again for Nidoking. And Solar Beam. Look at that. Yep, Solar Beam was definitely the way to go. It's now time to fight John and activate the serious music. We're outsped by Pidgeot, but Thunderbolt was the right choice, since it went for agility. Definitely Solar Beam for Rhyhorn, and this will be Rhydon next time we see it, so Solar Beam will continue to be useful. Gyarados, Thunderclap. Earthquake for Growlithe. His Alakazam is tough, and this takes a Thunderbolt, an Earthquake, and finally a Thunderclap. Venusaur. I have nothing good for Venusaur. I try Thunderbolt, and it sucks. I try Earthquake, and that sucks too. Sometime later, Venusaur narrowly takes the victory. Okay, this time I'll stick with Thunderbolt and hope for Paralysis. No Paralysis, but it's very close. Vine Whip. Yeah, here we go. Very close. Now for my first league attempt, I used just 3 rare candies. The thinking is that I want to save growth at level 51 for a bit later. However, my dragon typing becomes an issue here, as Jinx and Lapras fixate on super effective ice moves. In my second attempt, I try to take out Lapras with a Thunderclap, but it's not enough. Okay, new strategy. I've done a bit of training to 45, and now I'm using all my rare candies to 51. Growth replaces Earthquake, and I proceed to take out Dugong and Cloyster with Thunderbolt. Make a pit stop at Slowbro to set up Growth, not once, but 4 times, as it retaliates with Withdraw, Growl, and Amnesia. Now I can take down Slowbro and Jinx with Thunderbolt, and to make sure I outspeed Lapras, Thunderclap. Yes, that's how we do it. Now I was planning to use Earthquake against Bruno's Onyxes, but never mind, I also have Solar Beam. Here's the Bruno montage. Gengar goes for Confuse Ray straight away. Will this be enough? No, not even close. Damage from Confusion, and she switches out to Golbat. Back to Gengar, I try Thunderclap, and it fails thanks to Hypnosis. Later, I try to set up Growth against Arbok to one-shot the last Gengar, but she sees through my plan, and brings Gengar out early to use Toxic. Despite being outsped, I somehow take down the Gengar, and I've run out of Thunderbolts for Arbok. I bank on it preparing an attack, and go for Thunderclap, but it fails and Raging Bolt succumbs to the effects of Toxic. Okay, there was definitely some bad luck there, so I try again with exactly the same strategy. Lorelei and Bruno go down in much the same fashion, back to Agatha, and I'm going to avoid using Thunderclap on her Gengars this time, since they have quite a lot of status moves. Gengar tries a Dream Eater, but Shorty ain't dreamin'. She withdraws after 1 Thunderbolt, and I get a free crack at Golbat. Back to Gengar, who dishes out a Nightshade. Another Thunderbolt. Come on! Yes! Haunter is down in 2, but RB is hit by another Nightshade. Now I try to set up on Arbok again, and this time she doesn't switch, and I'm able to grow 4 sizes. I then use my final Thunderbolt on Arbok before going for a risky Thunderclap on Gengar. It lands, but will it be enough? With its lower power of 70, no. She goes for a Super Potion, and my only choice is Thunderclap. And there we go! Now, I have a Max Ether, which I use on Thunderbolt. I definitely need to get a better handle on the various items. I should probably have more PP restoring items here. Against Gyarados, I go for a Thunderclap, and set up against Dragonair. Dragonair seems to be locked into Dragon Rage, which it thinks is super effective. After this, it's Thunderbolt for everything, and Lance is defeated. It's time for the champion, and I'm fortunate that he won't have Exeggutor this time, but I'm not looking forward to fighting Venusaur. One-shot Thunderbolt for Pidgeot, Raging Bolt levels up to 55, Alakazam outspeeds with Psychic, but the damage isn't too bad. Thunderbolt does just over half. Psybeam was fine. Okay, that was good. Rhydon, I guess I'll go for Solar Beam. Leer. Down in 1. That special stat is brilliant. Gyarados, we know the drill by now. Thunderclap. Now, I do need to grow before Venusaur, and this is the last chance, but Arcanine's takedown is brutal, so only 1 growth this time. Now, Venusaur is going to be a real problem. All I can really do is Thunderbolt and hope for the best. It's not terrible actually, but Venusaur takes in Sunlight for a Solar Beam. We get a crit, and now I just need to survive this 1 attack. Oh wow, nothing to worry about. Thunderbolt again. Done! Raging Bolt completes the game at level 56 in 3 hours and 49 minutes. Okay, some closing thoughts. This thing is a fantastic special attacker, but its lower physical attack did prove to be a bit of a disadvantage against the overpowered psychic types. Despite a very good early game with Dragon Rage, it did end up taking about as long as Lugia. I do think that Raging Bolt kinda suits Electric Grass better than Dragon. Maybe I'm biased by the run, but Solar Beam just feels right. I think it'd be really interesting to see what it could do with moves like Mega Drain. For those of you that are still with me at this point in the video, firstly, thanks! You're delightful. Secondly, if you're new here, I do hate to trouble you, but if you wouldn't mind thunderclapping the subscribe button, it would be very much appreciated. No pressure if you'd rather not, the choice is yours and yours alone. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to welcoming you back to another video soon. For now, bye!